Hello and welcome to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. We have a great show. I always say that, but this time I really mean it because we're going to talk about cool things that I'm interested in that I don't have any experience in other than maybe on the financing side, which is self-storage, mobile home parks, RV parks, and also to kind of make it sweeten the pie a little bit too. We're going to talk about how Gabe buys them or tries to buy them at least with seller financing, which is the ultimate secret weapon. So please welcome Gabe Petersen. He's the founder of Great Northwest Homebuyers and Kaizen Properties, and most importantly, the host of the Real Estate Investing Club, which is a YouTube show and a podcast. Gabe started his career in management consulting for Fortune 500 companies. After about 7 years working in the cubicle life, he stumbled into real estate after buying a broken down triplex in Tacoma, Washington. And then from there, the rest was history. He then stumbled on to the bigger and better things. So we're going to dive into all that good stuff today, guys. And it's going to be an interesting show. And I'm going to ask questions because I'm interested in this niche and don't have the experience. So we're going to learn from somebody who's actively doing it and owner operator right here. So welcome to the show, Gabe. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Beau, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to jump on here.
Cool. So let's kind of fast forward. Like, you got into real estate and you're like, wait, this is cool. I understand it. I hate my cubicle life. I make probably pretty good money, but it's just not worth it. And I want to do something that fulfills my life and I can probably create reoccurring passive revenue. So you did a couple residential deals. Maybe you still do some residential deals. And then did you stumble into a self-storage unit or a mobile home park or an RV park first? What was that first interaction with a commercial property?
Well, yeah. So I'd started with wholesales and flips of just single family. And then I was looking at multifamily is actually what I was going for, because I knew I wanted to get in the commercial side. I wanted to be able to scale. I kind of saw the limits of single family. Not that you can't make an awesome company in single family, you can, but I wanted to be able to scale on the multifamily side. And so I was going for apartment buildings. And then I met my previous partner who was looking at mobile home parks. Kind of taught me a little bit about it. And I said, that sounds great. No structure that can go wrong. You don't have to fix leaky toilets. It's just the ground and making a nice community for people to live in.
Cool. So when you're looking at mobile home parks, a lot of lenders don't like when you're buying a mobile home park and you're owning the coaches too, right? They want to just lend pretty much on just the pads. And so financing could probably be tricky on some of those properties. And maybe some of the pads aren't filled and leased out. So that's when you came in with the strategy of, listen, the only way to leverage these is to really get seller financing. And so a lot of these are mom and pop run. Is that how? So what does the process look like as you're evaluating the deals? What kind of deals are you looking for? Do you care if it's on public utilities or can it have a leach field? What's kind of your buy box? I guess it changed from where you started to today, but I'm just curious how it's evolved.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, I've evolved myself as an investor over the years, but the criteria is always, there's a number of things you said in there, but I'm just going to focus on the criteria because that really is what you want to that kind of defines where you look. So we looked at, it started out as a minimum MSA of 100,000 or more. Right now I'm looking at 50,000 or more. It has to be net positive migration. So you can't have a MSA that's shrinking. Outside of that, I really like public utilities. So city water, city sewer. I actually own one that is private on both sides. So well and septic. And it is doing, it's crushing it. And so it's not something that will completely take me away from a deal, but it's not, I would prefer public utilities. And then outside of that, it's just tenant-owned homes, like you said, it's difficult to finance and you just don't want to own them because then you have to fix them. And that is, it increases the headache, which is one of my big criteria. How much of a headache will this investment be? And it increases just the number of people that you have to be dealing with in terms of repairs, in terms of management. And so tenant-owned homes is a no-no. When we bought our mobile home parks, RV parks, we sold all of the tenant-owned homes back to the tenants for just pennies on the dollar. We sold them for like $500, just to make sure that they weren't on our books. And now they're all, park owned, or sorry, yeah, they're all, I've been saying tenant-owned homes. I meant park-owned homes, Park owned homes is what you don't want. Tenant owned homes is what you do want. You want the tenants to own the homes. So they were park owned and now they're all tenant owned.
Awesome. And so walk us through like maybe a smaller acquisition you've done that you can, most people could relate to as far as like purchase price, how you structured it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What kind of terms you got from the seller, and some takeaways of some like nuggets that some of us watching that might be want to buy our first park, what we should look for, and kind of some learning points, so we don't have to go through the same struggles you might have in the beginning, and kind of supercharge our learning process.
Yeah, for sure. So the first one was out in George, Washington. It was a tiny little mobile home park. And I know I said MSA of 100,000. George is not even near that. It's like 1,000, but it was a really good deal. It was the owner of this property. He owned essentially the entire city because he's this big potato farmer, and he wanted to make kind of a themed city, like a Civil War, George Washington themed city. Didn't end up doing that. So now he owns all this property. And he just kind of wanted to get rid of it. He gave us a great deal. We bought it for $450,000, and there's 27 units in it. And he gave us seller financing. He gave us seller financing at, I think it was 3.8% interest, which was, this was during the times when interest rates were a little higher. So that was a good deal. And we put 20% down, and that was it. And then we bought it. That was our first one.
How long of a term did he give you?
So we have, it'll be a balloon. It's 25-year amortization, and then a balloon at year 5.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're coming up on year 5 here soon. And so we're going to have to refinance out of that.
And is that going to be like a bank or credit union type of refi?
Yeah. Local.
Yeah. Because you can get agency debt on some of the bigger parks like Fannie, Freddie, but it's a pain.
Yeah. And this one, I mean, it's 27 units. It does like, 12,000 a month. And so it's not huge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. So 20% down. Was that like the smallest one you bought so far, or the medium size? What's been the smallest you bought? What's been the largest you bought, if you don't mind us asking?
That is the smallest, 27. I mean, there's a lot, there's really small parks out there that people can buy. I would highly recommend not doing that, because then you can't have on-site management. And that is, if you don't have on-site management, it's just a headache. Because then you have to, do everything yourself. But so the mobile home park side, well, I only bought 2 of them. And then I switched over to self-storage. And so there was the 27 unit, and then there was a 48 unit in Moses Lake. That one's the one with septic and sewer, or no, septic and well. It's early here in the morning, so my brain's still kicking in.
Same here.
Again, we got seller financing on that one. He gave us like 2-point-something% interest, which was absurd. And we put, I can't remember, 20% down, something like that. That one, it used to be kind of a KOA sort of RV park, and then it was transitioned into, had a row of mobile home parks, or mobile home houses, and then the rest are long-term stay RVs. But because it was a KOA, it had this really big structure on the front that used to be kind of like the convenience store with an apartment on top. And so that was great, because we could use it as the office for an on-site property manager, and then have her live on top. And it was a really good kind of incentive to find someone, say, hey, this is where you get free rent in this apartment. You have this giant office to be in. So that really helped. We got a great property manager. She's crushing it. And, without her, that'd be a nightmare.
So any of the park owned homes at that time, same thing, sell them for pennies on the dollars. You don't want to deal with it. And get good tenants. So are you doing now, how do you do your rent collection? Are you using like an online payment portal, or a lot of those people paying by cash and checks and that kind of thing?
A lot of people pay by cash. So we worked with a local bank, and so the tenants could actually go to the bank and deposit the money into our account. And then they put a memo in the deposit slip that says, George at unit 2 or something like that.
And then you can just track it pretty easily. So the property manager is not actually taking the money and depositing. You make it specific that they have to go deposit if they're paying by cash.
Yep, exactly.
That's great. And then is the property manager, do they get a small salary? Is it pretty much they just get a free place to live and that's the trade-off, and they spend X amount of hours per week?
No, we give her a salary too. So she has the free, the free rent, and then we give her $2,000 a month on top of that. That's above what most people do, but we wanted to just incentivize her to stay with us. She really is doing a great job, and we feel she earns it. And so,
Is that in Washington too, that park, the bigger park?
Yep, both of them.
Okay. So they're within a drive from where you live. I don't know how far, but
they're about 2 hours from where I live and the other partners, but they're about 30 minutes from each other, and so they're close to each other, but they're far from where we live.
So how often do you really go there now? Pretty much never, or once a month?
Now maybe twice a year. If we didn't have the property manager, it would be a lot more, but she's doing a great job. We do a weekly meeting with her, just to kind of keep tabs on the park and figure out how things are going, what problems need to be solved. But she's doing a great job keeping it running, and we're happy for her.
So curious now why you kind of transitioned to self-storage. Was it even easier to manage and that was the idea, or what really triggered you to switch over to self-storage?
Yeah, I mean, self-storage is easier to manage. There's elements that are easier, elements that are harder, but I really like the idea that it is more of a business. I wanted something, I wanted some type of real estate that people didn't live in. I wanted to experience that. Mobile home parks, apartment buildings are great. People live in there. And so, when it comes time to evictions, you have to evict someone when they're not paying rent for a certain number of months. And that can be, you are evicting them from their home. Regardless of how you see it, it is difficult to do it at times just because you're kicking them out of their home. And so I wanted to buy a business. Self-storage, it's people's stuff. They're just storing it. And so it's more of a business than it is a place to live. That was one reason. The other reason is there are fewer utilities. There's no, these self-storage facilities, they'll have an office, but mostly it's just electricity that you have to deal with. And that makes the repairs, it makes the headache a lot less. You have to deal with broken springs, doors that get caught, but you don't have to deal with electrical or not electrical, water or sewer very often.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And when you bought your first self-storage, it's in Washington as well?
No, it's in Texas.
Okay.
All my self-storage are out of state.
Okay. And so did you go with the same concept where you were looking for deals where you could get seller financing?
Yep. Everything I got off market. I just started marketing to self-storage all across mostly in the Sun Belt because I wanted something down there. Washington, the cap rates were like 6.5 sometimes, and it's just like it wasn't worth it. And so I was looking in Texas. I found a seller. Again, actually, all of them. No, I take that back. Two of them are the first two were for seller financed. And he gave me, again, good terms, 20% down. I actually just got one under contract on Friday. That's again seller finance. This one's even better because it's interest only for 10 years. And then we pay principal. So man, I love seller financing. If y'all can find it, go for it. It's a win-win for both parties because they make a lot more money. So I feel like it's an easy sell most of the time. But so the Texas one, got it under contract, seller financing. It was a small one, 68 units. And that one's actually been just great. It's, we bought it. He wasn't doing any marketing. He was an old guy. He actually built it and he just wasn't doing anything. He wasn't managing it. He had somebody going out and like cutting the grass, but it was like 20% filled. The vacancy was super high. So all I really did was I bought it, got a sign, I painted it, and then I just started, I put it on online, put it on Google, put it on Sparefoot and filled it up. I think we're at about 80, I think we're like 85% occupied right now. And so it's just been super easy.
Hi, if you'd like to book a call with me and discuss SBA financing, whether it's a 7A or 504, or you just don't know where to start, maybe it's a startup business, you're buying an existing business, you're buying a franchise, You're building a new office building, you want to expand your existing business. We have multiple solutions. I can walk you through the 7A and the 504 and the SBA loan process. And if you have any other questions on any other types of financing, I'm happy to book a call with you. The link's below. Look forward to seeing you soon. What does the lease up look like? Are you able to do that all virtually, or do you actually have boots on the ground there? That's actually working hours.
No, well, we don't have anybody at the facility. It's a remotely managed facility, and so, but we do have boots on the ground to go out there every month to check locks, do auctions, lockouts, clean the facility, stuff like that. But there's nobody there on site that you'll meet when you come in to rent a facility. That's all done online. Somebody goes to our website or they call the number online, talk to the call center, and they lease it up for us.
That's awesome. So another really that's even more passive, and it sounds like a lot less headaches in the mobile home parks because you're not dealing with people that actually live on site and people like fighting and all different stuff. So, I mean, you're going to have issues in anything you do, but it seems like it's less. And there's probably a huge opportunities in these mom and pop, because there's just, a lot of the big buyers don't want to deal with these smaller units. And so where would you say on a self-storage facility is like a minimum unit count that you would like suggest somebody new getting into the business start with?
That's a hard one. I mean, if you found something downtown Seattle and it was a 50 unit, that would be fucking great. So it really depends on the area. In the rural areas, I would go 100, 150 minimum. But if you're just starting out, maybe 50 in rural, that'll give you enough to kind of pay somebody boots on the ground to help you out, to hire the call center, all that kind of stuff.
Sorry, cut you off there. How do you, like when you're buying in like more of a small, tertiary or smaller market, how are you doing your studies on like, hey, we know it's mom and pop run and they're not doing any marketing, but like this one we were talking about where it was 20% occupied. How did you kind of know there was the demand for it? Could you see some other facilities that were running at 80 or 90% that weren't too far off?
Yeah. There's software like Track IQ out there. They provide, the net rentable square feet per capita. You can find that information out there. But also I just call facilities. So I'll call like in a 10-mile radius, all the facilities in there and just say like, how many units do you have available here, and just kind of get a gauge on, what the demand is. And if they're at 100% occupancy, so the one we're buying, or I'm buying right now in Indianapolis, they're at, 95, 98% occupancy. That's kind of an indication in and of itself because they're so high, that they are, there's higher demand to build or to expand.
Does your real estate investing club show, do you guys talk about like get started in the self-storage business and kind of tools you would use, like a kind of a training program, or if not, who would you suggest to learn from?
Yeah, I mean, we have our recommended resources on the main site, and that's like just the tools that I use to kind of go through to manage, to find properties, all that stuff. And then for education, I have a course that I made, but it's just to find properties. It's not to manage. If you want a course on managing properties, that one, who would I recommend? Mike Wagner. I think it's Self Storage Rebellion. He has a good course there. Okay,
I'm going to write that down here so I don't forget. That's good information. And so what have been in the self-storage space, what's been the biggest kind of learning lessons so far that you would, if somebody was new getting in the business, you would make them aware of kind of some things they should know sooner rather than later?
Be wary of location, and you really want a fence and a gate. I bought a facility out in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And it's downtown Hot Springs, but I didn't do enough due diligence in terms of understanding the local market. And that area is not a good area. It's right next to a strip club. It's right next to a bunch of mobile home parks. Mobile home parks are actually good for self-storage because you don't have, in terms of demand, because you don't have a lot of room in a manufactured house. to store things, and so people bring it over to the self-storage. But there tends to be a little bit more crime in that area, and so I bought this facility, strip club, mobile home parks, in a bad area, and we've had break-ins like nobody's business. And I bought it it didn't have a fence and a gate, and that's just been a nightmare. I mean, we've been, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000 just fixing doors because people come in there, they'll break, they'll beat off the hasps, they'll just tear it up. And so you got really watch out for where you buy. Make sure it's it doesn't have to be in a rich area or a really nice area, but you just got to be wary of where you buy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And now, so you're actively buying. So it sounds like, if we can kind of circle back, that your really forte is you got good at finding off-market deals. Does that mean that you're going direct to seller? Yeah. Just curious on the training you do in your courses on like what you're actually doing to get these leads.
Yeah. So I manage the properties too, but what I would consider myself the best at is finding off-market deals. And yeah, that's all covered in the course, but it's the same as what you would kind of see in what other people suggest on YouTube or wherever you're getting your information. It's all the same. It's just you got to work it, and that's the hard part. So off-market lead generation, it boils down to, you can do cold calls, you can do networking, you can do all the different marketing channels. So text marketing, RVMs, online, direct mail, they all work. You just got to choose one, roll with it. Finding data is actually the hardest part of off-market marketing. Getting good data, making sure that it is accurate. You can buy a list out there, but it's going to be super saturated, and it's probably not going to be all that high quality. And so you gotta skip trace it, and you can use tools like batch skip trace or something like that. Those tend to be saturated, not great quality. So the best way is to hire a VA and then have them individually skip trace properties. And then there's the fact that when you buy lists, it doesn't catch everything. So if you want a specific area, you have to like literally Google the area, look at a map, look for self-storage facilities. They may not have a Google My Business, so it's not going to pop up when you search it. But if you just look visually at the map, hire a VA to look visually at the area, look for little strips of buildings, because that's going to be a self-storage facility. Or if you're looking for mobile home parks, they're pretty distinct what they look like. So so there's a lot of good ways to find properties once you find one. And wholesaling is, you can wholesale commercial properties too. I do that. So that's a good active way to make money when you're trying to find a good property. If you find something doesn't quite meet your criteria. So it's finding those good deals. That's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah, that's great. So Texas is your main focus right now for self-storage?
Well, I'm buying one in Indianapolis right now.
Oh, so that's true. Indianapolis. That's a good market right there.
Yeah.
So, I own some property in South Bend. That's not too far, but it's a different market. South Bend, Indiana.
What kind of property is it?
Oh, I just own some duplexes, single family, and a fourplex, and
Oh, nice.
They've been good. They've been good to me, though. I mean, actually, that market's actually surprisingly done well. I like cheap markets for some reason.
Yeah.
But now I am thinking like self-storage might be a good avenue, because I don't mind investing out of state, but then this makes more sense where you can get 70 units, 50 units, owner finance, put a little bit of down, do some value add. Now, the last question I have for right now, and do you have a resource? Like, I'm one of those types that likes a really quick and dirty deal analyzer. Do you have one on your website, or just like something simple? Because I'm not a spreadsheet guy, even though I do loans for a living. So what do you suggest to like kind of a quick analyze? Do you have a tool for that?
I do. I don't know if I have it on the website. I might. I don't remember, but I was actually just making an online tool for that, and I was going to put it on the website for people to have, because my Excel, there's a ton of different variations to a deal, and so I want to be able to see it from different sides. I just haven't finished it, so once it's finished, I'll put it out there.
Well, I'll have to keep on following you then. Now, what do we look like? what's kind of the basic kind of rules? Like, I think like if you're doing X amount on gross revenue, right? Like what are, I mean, it's pretty much, you don't have that much cost, right? You have your boots on the ground costs, whatever your maintenance costs are, and your utility costs and insurance. Really, there's not that much other costs, is there?
The biggest line item is going to be your property taxes for sure. But so if you're looking at bigger facilities, you're going to have your boots on the ground, but you're also going to have your property management company. And so that one, it'll be property management is going to be a big line item. Then you're going to have boots on the ground. Outside of that, yeah, utilities and insurance, and then property taxes. Property taxes are going to be the biggest. At smaller facilities, it's usually like a 40% OPEX. At larger facilities, like I was looking at a $6 million deal, and they were at 19% OPEX. And so it can really vary there. Yeah, the bigger ones, the economies of scale really kick in.
Yeah, so I'd probably be starting with like a mom and pop, like 50, 60 units. So I'm figuring let's just say the gross revenues are 10,000, really 4,000 is going to go to expenses, like kind of rule of thumb, kind of, and then, potentially that much profit. But you will have this tool where I can just plug my numbers in and just go, okay, that's great.
Yeah, well, now you're putting the pressure on. I'm gonna have to finish it.
Well, I like easy things. I found for residential properties, there's a dealcheck.io. And I like it. It's super easy. Like when I'm looking at buying duplexes and fourplexes, it's just boom, plug in. I like what they do. You check it out, and maybe you can
some inspiration.
Yeah, get some inspiration, because if you can do something like that in a self-storage space, it'd be awesome, because that would be for somebody like me that because it makes it easy. I find it, I see a deal floating around like on the internet somewhere. I import it and then I have just plug in the numbers, and it's like, boom, I've got cash on cash. I got everything I need to say, okay, this looks promising. But yeah, this is good. Yeah, I know. You could probably go to Fiverr and get some developer to help you. That's my secret, is going to Fiverr and getting these.
I love Fiverr.
Yeah. So the Real Estate Investing Club. So you got the YouTube show. Oh, and also you also syndicate the audio out for a podcast. And are you interviewing people? What's the premise of the show? Just all real estate?
Yeah, it's we're like asset class agnostic. I'll interview, so long as you're actively doing real estate. I'll have them on the podcast. So we've, the last guy I had, he flipped vineyards, orchards. It goes from everywhere. We have apartment buildings, mobile home parks, self-storage, you name it. We've had them on. I had a guy that flipped farms. That was pretty interesting. So yeah, we do it all.
It's the funny thing is you can finance anything and you can flip anything. And that's like crazy. Like there's niches and niches and niches.
Yep.
Great to riches. Well, Gabe, it's been a pleasure. Where's the best place where people can follow you? Where would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the podcast website is probably the best. It's just the realestateinvestingclub.com. You can check out all our educational stuff there and the recommended resources that I was talking about earlier. The realestateinvestingclub.com. That's it.
Well, thank you. You got me excited for self-storage, and hopefully I kind of follow you a little bit, get a little bit more inspiration, and get something under contract in the next couple months, because I'm actively looking, and I'm in the small multifamily and single family space, mostly by duplexes and fourplexes, but there's a better way, and self-storage seems like once you get it running, it's not that much of a headache, and I'm looking for not that much of a headache type of investments. So I
like that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. I try to bring on great guests that are doing cool things in real estate and business. So this was just a perfect example of something that all of us can, strive to achieve. We're talking about deals that are anywhere from $3 to $1 million. So, and you're getting seller finance. So that's just amazing. So Gabe, thanks again. And everybody, please like and subscribe to the show.
Thanks, Beau.